I copied Davie Fogarty's $20 million business and made $10 million myself out of it. And no, I'm not kidding. This right here is the e-commerce store I created. My first year, it did $500,000 in revenue. My second year, it did $3 million in revenue. And my third year, it did $6.5 million in revenue. And in January 2024, I even sold the business. How did I do this? Well, let me take you back to 2021, the month of August. At the time, I was a 20-year-old high school kid who had nothing going for me. I had been in the e-commerce world for over a year, but with no success. I had tried 12 different products, 8 different marketing strategies, and everything I could think of, but nothing worked. Yet I never lost hope. After all, there were hundreds of successful e-commerce businesses that were earning people millions. I knew I could reach that point. I just needed to unlock that one skill. So in pursuit of that one single golden nugget that could help turn things around for me, I made sure to consume all e-com related content I possibly could on YouTube. And then one day, this successful, humble young man from Australia popped up on my feed. I couldn't really even pronounce his name. Davie Forgarty. Immediately though, I could tell Davie was the real deal. He had done huge numbers, seemed incredibly down to earth, and wasn't trying to sell anything. And so based on that brief analysis of him as a person, I decided to study him relentlessly. I realized I needed to think about e-commerce the same way he did. So I read all I could about him, listened to all his advice, and studied his successful Shopify stores, primarily the hoodie and combing blankets. The first difference I noticed immediately was that his target market was Australia, while mine was Denmark. Therefore, all the products he sold were entirely different from what we had at home. But this was a good thing. Why? Well, because every product he sold was in one way or the other more modern, more innovative and unique than what currently was selling in Denmark. So this gave me a unique idea. What if I start selling these better, more unique Australian products in Europe? Why had no one thought of that before? And I pursued that idea immediately, but I still didn't know how the market would respond. After all, I was ready to take the risk, so I decided to do my research. Then one day I was scrolling on Facebook and saw a Danish company selling weighted blankets. And truth is, at the time I didn't even know what it was, but I could see that the brand was doing solid numbers, even though their site and their ads on Meta were quite outdated. So I did some more research and I found out that weighted blankets had incredible natural benefits, and then it hit me. That Australian guy, Davie, he also sold weighted blankets. And boom, that's the product I should sell. You know, I was thinking that if he was selling it successfully in Australia, another brand in Denmark with relatively outdated marketing strategies was selling it successfully here, then surely if I applied some modern strategies and followed Davie's footsteps with his brand Combing Blankets, I could do incredibly well in Denmark and outperform that one competitor. And there was really only one competitor, which was a huge advantage because I just needed to beat them and then I would be the market leader. But deep down, I didn't really want to just completely copy Davie, mainly out of the pure respect I had for him. What I wanted instead was to analyze what he had done, improve upon it, and then tailor it, most importantly, to the Scandinavian market and culture, specifically Denmark. And so I did. I created a well thought out plan for myself and got immediately to work. My game plan was 1. Find the same supplier as Davie, thinking if he does large number with this product, he must have a good supplier. Step number 2, create a website and combine what's working on his brand with the typical Danish structures for e-com stores and make some changes so that we don't directly copy. And step 3, hopefully get sales. The next morning I went to work with nothing but a structured approach and I simply just fired away messages to all the suppliers in Alibaba I could see. The reason was that Davie had already confirmed in a previous video that his suppliers always were from there. So I wrote to them all that I had a large company in Denmark selling weighted blankets and that I needed to know what large companies they were supplying in order to trust their quality. And this was crucial to me because I needed to provide the highest quality products to my potential customers. And so I went through every single listing on Alibaba for weighted blankets. I probably contacted more than 100 suppliers. The day after, I woke up to a lot of messages from different suppliers, almost all of which were useless. But as I scrolled through them, I landed on a gold mine. One of the suppliers had sent me a picture of them sewing the logo onto Davie's products. And I saw this as a huge sign. I knew this supplier was right for me. I knew that the product was working in the Scandinavian market. All I needed to do was to get a sample, create my store, and start marketing it. I was focused on creating a massive, successful business, so I took the first step. Straight away, I ordered a sample from that supplier. So next, I started to work on Shopify. I created a new store in Denmark. I added the images that I got copyright free from my supplier. And 48 hours worth of hard work later, I had something that looked like a solid Shopify store. Obviously, it wasn't perfect, but it worked. And to make the final tweaks, I analyzed the entire structure Davie had used for his entire site down to the smallest details: copy, content, navigation, positioning, etc. And I applied it all in a way that worked for the European market. And finally, I needed to make some ads and realized that the content my supplier gave me wasn't suitable. I, of course, didn't want to steal content online from other people, so that left me with only one option, one nerve-wracking option: make some video ads myself. So I took the sample and studied all the successful ads that Davie was running with his brand Calming Blankets. I took inspiration from at least 5 of his best video ads and got to work. Although, of course, I was extremely nervous. So with just my iPhone and a tripod, I recorded hundreds of clips of that weighted blanket. I did the voiceovers all without showing my face in the ads because I wanted to stay private. And finally, I found a couple of influencers who were in my target audience that I identified: women 35 to 55 years of age. I contacted them, went over to meet with them, and then made a brief video ad using their services. It was extremely exhausting and a lot of work, but finally my products and my store were ready, and all that was left to do was to launch. And I was so nervous this time about whether I will get results. Will things finally change for me, financially for me? And the truth is that after having tested more than 12 products, all of them failed. It almost seemed impossible to succeed, but I still thought that it was worth a shot. So on the 21st of August, 2021, I turned the ads live and went to bed. And I was praying in my sleep to finally get some success with e-commerce. The morning after, I woke up and I went straight to the gym. And in the middle of that first training session, I got my first ever sale. And I was so excited. Then only 18 minutes after, still in the same gym session, I got another sale. I got my second sale. And I thought, okay, I might be onto something. And that's when the realization hit me. This was my opportunity. The product finally worked after years of failing. But quickly, the feeling of success and happiness turned into stress, because now with 2 orders so incredibly fast, things was about to kick off in a much more serious way than I could ever have dreamed of. And that left me with another major issue. I had no stock. I only had that one sample. And I never thought I would get 2 sales in my first day. So as any new e-commerce owner with now a serious responsibility, I searched for advice on how to handle this situation. I had limited financial resources. I could see on the data that I would get way too much volume and didn't know how to manage it. But obviously I knew that there was one person who might have gone through the exact same issues as me, with the exact same product even, Davie. At the time he had around 20,000 followers though, so I knew it would be incredibly difficult getting his attention and even making it worth it for him to spend his time on. So I drafted up the perfect message and sent it. I was desperate for some advice on how to navigate my situation. A couple of hours went on, no reply. A day had gone by, no reply. And I didn't blame him, because I knew how many messages he must have gotten every single day and that he had to take care of his business. So I realized I was all on my own here. I needed to find a way to solve this myself. So I took all the savings that I had. At 20 years old, I had lost a lot in trying to make e-commerce work for the past year. So I only had around $3,000 to work with. But I decided to invest that entire amount in products that I found with my supplier. And I could get 80 pieces of weighted blankets for that amount. And so I did. Simultaneously, I also found a 3PL that could help store, pick, and pack and fulfill all of my orders. A little while after, my stock of blankets arrived, and every single one of them was sold out at this point, all because of one ad that I had made with an influencer. And for any of you who know e-commerce, I had a ROAS, a return on ad spend, of 12, which basically means that for every $100 I spent on ads, I got $1,200 back. After all costs and selling those blankets, I now had $9,000 to reinvest in stock. I could get 240 pieces of weighted blankets for that amount. Plus, I could now also get my logo on the products and get customized packaging. So at this point, I started to set in. I had a successful e-commerce business selling blankets, but this was just the beginning. As soon as my new blankets with my customized logo came in, they were also sold out. And for a brief period, all I did was to reinvest the capital of the business into stock, building up our inventory. Meanwhile, I studied Davie's brand day and night. What moves was he making and what kind of video ads performed well for his brand? I tried to do something similar, but tailored it more to the European market. And suddenly I even found a couple of other international successful weighted blanket companies that were also doing well. And so I studied them as well. How had they positioned their product and which ads were performing for them? And most importantly, how were they scaling their business? And for the next couple of years, that's all I did. Reinvesting into inventory, content, and learning from the people ahead of me. I studied how they made high converting ads, improved their website, and much, much more. And this is when I realized the importance of constantly testing new ads, changes on your site, and all the different ways to get traffic. So in 2022, I saw firsthand how one successful test could completely change the business, because in the summer of 2022, I launched one image ad, which was the most crucial factor in going from $100,000 in monthly revenue to more than $800,000 within 3 months. And also quickly realized I needed a larger team around me, so I employed my first customer service rep, then another, and 6 months after that, a COO that could help me run the business and do all of those essential tasks that didn't really move the needle when I did them. In 2021, the business did around $500,000. The next year, $3 million, and the year after, $6.5 million in revenue in one single year. So in total, that business ended up doing more than $10 million in just 3 years in revenue, of course. And in January 2024, I was offered an insane amount for that business, and I decided to sell it to move on to more exciting things. My hope with this video is to show you that, contrary to popular belief, you actually don't need a genius product idea. All you need to do to succeed with ecom is to look at what's already working and then improve upon it. And add your own spin like I did by copying or getting inspired by Davie Forgarty. Take inspiration from people who are already successful and add your own unique touch to it. Trust me, I've been where you are as a small startup owner, and I know it's hard, but it doesn't have to be. If you want a more technical, in-depth breakdown of how I actually find the products, tailor them to the markets, and build the entire site and the brand, check out the first video in the description.